including the All-Star game. This one is kind of crazy. We get a 211 to 186 score. The Eastern Conference ends up beating the Western Monstars. If you look at the Western roster, I don't think they should have lost. KD, LeBron, Jokic, Luka, Shea. Obviously, these are all-star rosters. AD on the bench, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Kat, Steph, D-Book, and Ant. That's just regardless of being all-stars, that's just a really, really good team. And probably on paper, it's a lot better than Giannis, Tatum, Bam, Dame, Tyrese, Paolo, Scotty, Brunson, Young, Maxey, Mitchell, Brown. But this game was fun. There was some interesting defense played. It doesn't seem like it when the score is 211 to 186. But throughout the game, we had some random burst of defensive effort from players you wouldn't expect. Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic started trapping people and trying to double them at half court. It was a little interesting. Steph Curry got a block on Paolo. Paolo went to get a big dunk, and Steph Curry got up there with him and blocked him. That was a massive defensive highlight. But I think the difference in this one is you could tell it. So the Eastern Conference started the game. Jason Tatum hits a corner three, and then LeBron and his team started going crazy. They take a quick little lead. From that, though, the Eastern Conference started hitting more threes, and obviously the Western Conference seemed to be having a little more relaxed fun with it. It seems like because the Eastern team had so many young players and so many first-time All-Stars that they sort of defaulted to being a little more effort filled. Ant has already said straight up that he doesn't care about the All-Star weekend. He sees it as a break. But yeah, I think that this was I think it was a fun game. I enjoyed it. I thought it was. I think there's things we could do to talk about, increasing the effort and things like that. But I enjoyed it for the most part all the way through.
Yeah, like I said, I only watched the first half. First of all, this isn't even about the game. Why on God's green earth did this game start at 8:45 when the broadcast for the game started at 8 o'clock? Not pregame, because there's already a pregame separate. The broadcast for the game started at 8. I know you got to do introductions and all that stuff, but I tuned in at 8 and I'm thinking, all right, it's going to be obviously, think Super Bowl or something. There's going to be some stuff going on before the introductions, all that, blah, blah, blah. Fair enough. 8:45 on the East Coast, really? That's
game was over at midnight.
And we ain't talking about the finals here. We ain't talking about practice. I mean, we ain't talking about the finals. We're talking about an All-Star game. I'm not. I was lucky enough to get the day off for President's Day, but I ain't staying up for no doggone All-Star game. I don't care how good it is. That's just, come on, bro. Start a game on time. Let's. And the thing is too is it's a Sunday. There's nothing else on ahead of it. It's not like all the other days where you have events, back to back to back. It's one singular event. There's no reason for it to start that late. And it's in Indiana, so it's you could have. It wouldn't have been in the world if you push it back. If it's in, I don't know if it's on the West Coast, you can't push it back. But so far, because then it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon for them, or 12 noon, but. That was just ridiculous. They need to fix that. Number one. Number two, it's been a while since I watched the game. The last time I watched it was obviously like you mentioned, 2020, after Kobe passed away. They had a reason to play it. They changed the format and everything for it. And that's the last time those guys really played hard. And I guess I hadn't watched in so long that I kind of forgot how the All-Star game works. Obviously, it's going to be less of a pace. That's just how it is. With that being said, is it really worth watching the whole thing? Nah. And it's not even really. I guess it might just be part of the evolution of the game too. One, obviously, it's the guy's not trying, but you're not expecting crazy defense in the All-Star game anyway. For me, it's really just the dunks and all kinds of great plays and stuff. Big plays, things like that. But considering guys, the NBA has evolved so much in the past 10 years that so many guys can pull off these crazy dunks in regular games. 3-point bursts are just pretty much common. The game itself has become more of an All-Star game, in general. Not saying that they don't try on defense. Playoff basketball, I love playoff football. Playoff basketball, for me, it's right under it. I'm tuning in every single second. But the overall game isn't as, tough as it used to be. I guess I'm not calling players soft, but it's just not the same way. So I mean, it just feels like more of the same, but then they're not trying as hard. So I think that's part of it, why it just feels like they're really just throwing up stuff, because these guys all now shoot threes like it's nothing. So when you get that combined with outside of those random times where they decide they want to play defense and have those bursts, it's just not there. So I wouldn't say it's god awful. Like, I think a lot of people hated it, like waking up Monday morning seeing tweets and it's TV. I think people hated it, and obviously, you get 400 combined points. I think people are going to be mad about that. 200 points is like insane to think about. But it's just obviously not. It's just not. You can't. I'm not going to go into it anymore. At least, definitely after seeing this, I'm not going to go into it anymore. Like expecting anything except what we saw. So I'm not going to get pissed off about it.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. There's I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you're talking about the just the way that the actual NBA games are played now. Because I do think like when I watch that All-Star game and I've seen people, Dame and Tyrese Halliburton pulling up from half court, or crazy lob attempts, or Tyrese Halliburton tried the white chocolate pass to Dame, kind of got there, but Dame didn't hit the shot. Things like that. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm here to see. Like I don't need to see like a 80 to 70 All-Star game score. You put a bunch of, especially this year. I mean, there's a lot of these guys are good at defense, but you've also put in a bunch of dudes who like primary thing is scoring. And like I'm here to see them score, a lot of basketball points. But I agree. I think that there's maybe less of a contrast because 3-point shooting is that's like the main thing for NBA offenses now, right? So now you're gonna tune into the All-Star game, you're gonna watch guys throw a bunch of threes, and then you tune into an NBA game, and you'll probably also watch guys throw a bunch of threes. It's still not gonna be like obviously they're not gonna attempt 92 threes, like the Eastern, or 97 threes as the Eastern Conference did in this one. But it's still actually the West also attempted 71. I didn't realize that, which that was a difference maker in why the score was what it was. The East was on fire from three, and the West was not. But anyway, you're going to see teams shoot a bunch of threes. Regardless, I think that maybe people are getting a little desensitized. Some of the shots that Dame and Tyrese Halliburton hit in this game were insane. I think they're deserving of being like, whoa, like that's clearly an all-star move from an all-star player. But maybe we're getting a little too desensitized, which I thought in the second half was kind of fun because Doc Rivers pulled Dame and Halliburton for a little while and had Paolo Banchero and Scotty Barnes running around. They missed some threes, but they also were, Scotty Barnes especially started cooking from mid-range and hitting some dunks. Jaylen Brown obviously hit 6 threes, but he also had 36 points. That doesn't just come from 6 threes. Jaylen Brown played a lot of fun basketball. Giannis put up 23. He was scoring a lot. Cat as well. The Western team went down, but Cat put up 50 from the bench and only hit 4 threes. He attempted 13, so eventually it was like, stop it. But he shot 23 for 35. So otherwise, if it wasn't for the threes he was checking up, he had a super efficient game. So I don't know. There was some fun basketball being played aside from the 3-point shooting. But I think maybe some of it is that you're going to go to bed on Saturday. The last thing you've seen is the dunk contest, and you're like, man, this All-Star weekend. Then you're going to get to the All-Star weekend. You're going to turn on your broadcast at 8 o'clock, not knowing that you're in for a 45-minute broadcast before you even get to watch a player dribble a ball. And then from there, you're going to get into this 3-point shootout array, and it's going to be a little crazy. But I don't know. I think there's been it's interesting. There's definitely some ways you could try to incentivize certain teams, or the teams trying to be more competitive. I think West versus East was a good way to do it. I think the issue is that the West got behind too quickly, and they obviously you're not going to put in some sort of like crazy effort to get back into the game. I think if it stayed close, we might have seen a little bit of a different thing. But the East just pulled away out of nowhere because Halliburton he didn't hit 15 straight, but he had got 15 straight points. And from there, it looked grim for the Western Conference on to the end of the game. So I think things like that maybe didn't help. People talk about doing a World versus USA. I think that actually might work a little better than East versus West. If you have I would say your country on the line. I don't know. That's always interesting with the World USA thing. You have one
That's the
team.
way to put it.
You got one team playing for their country, and you have the other team playing for the world. I don't know. It's an interesting way, and I don't think though it's not like the FIBA Cup where they actually have their like team, their country's jersey on. They're not actually in their country being on the line. It's crazy. That's it's not, stakes aren't that dire. Brainiac isn't here taking over the world. But I don't know. I think there are ways to try to make the game competitive. I enjoy it for what it is anyway. If I'm tuning into the All-Star game, I'm hoping to see just fun basketball being played. I hope to see the players have fun. The Pacers arena booed Dame for getting the MVP, which is funny. He and Halliburton themselves didn't seem to have too much of an issue. Other funny thing for that is though, like if it's not Dame, it's probably Brown before it's Halliburton. So that's interesting. I wonder if they boo Jaylen Brown too if he ends up getting it. I don't know. But I thought it was fun. I think there's ways we could try to tweak it. I think maybe adding in some of the one-on-one tournaments or things like that throughout the weekend will get people in a little bit more of a competitive mood. Maybe the U.S. versus world thing works a little better. I like the East-West thing. I think that helps a lot as well. But this one clearly just didn't fully get the competitive spirit out of some of the players. Anthony Edwards straight up said he wasn't going to be doing it, which is funny in contrast because his Timberwolves teammate definitely fought the hardest for the Western Conference. But I don't know. Let the players have fun. I'll probably have fun watching it. I'm not going to be super mad that an all-star team put up 211 points. I don't know, man. You put a bunch of good 3-point shooters together on a team and they hit a bunch of threes. It's very shocking. I'm not sure.